Well, good morning. I'm Aaron Bowman, W4ARB, and I am a CW operator, and I like to operate CW in the field and share it with you here on YouTube. So, I am, if you can't guess it, I'm at Tuskegee National Forest this morning, and I'm about to do a Parks on the Air activation. I've already got my antenna set up, which I'm operating off of the tailgate of my truck today. So I've got the Chameleon SS17 or 17-foot whip is on a super antenna MP1C coil, and that is clamped to the aluminum bed cover of my truck. So that's ready to rock and roll. So today I'm going to be using a new radio. Yep, that's right. I'm actually trying out a new radio. This radio does not belong to me, but rather it was lent to me and several other CW operators to give it a try. So this is going to be the CFT1 by Jonathan KM4CFT, and he has designed this radio. So he's been sending it around for some different folks to try, and I was on that list to, have a chance to give it a try. So thanks, Jonathan. I'm really looking forward to trying it out and checking out all the hard work that I know you put into this thing. All right, let's get it out. Let's take a look at this thing. All right, where did I put it? Here it is. So I've just stuffed it in this little LL Bean bag because I had a handy. All right, this is the CFT1. It is a 5-band, so it's 40, 30, 20, 15, 17 meter radio, and it is CW only, and it is definitely geared towards using in the field. So it kind of has a similar feature set as far as I can tell so far. It seems like it has a similar feature set to like a mountain topper or a QMX on the CW side, that type of thing. But it is definitely designed by and made for folks that do things like what I do in operating in the field. So let's give it a try and see how it works. I literally have not even turned this on yet. I got it a couple days ago, and it's been sitting on my desk, and I have not tried it yet, so I'm ready and eager to give it a shot. So this radio does not have a built-in speaker, so I'm gonna grab my JBL Go 2, but that's a pretty common thing for like QCX Mini, QMX, the mountain toppers. There's a lot of little field radios that don't have built-in speakers. Let's be honest, a lot of times, especially when I'm not recording video, I'm just going to use headphones anyway. So that really is not a big deal. Alright, plug that in there. Now let me get out my CW key. Modern Morse CW paddle. Still love that thing. Really the only key I've been using in the field. It's a Bengali Expedition at home, in case you're curious. Alright, plug that in. Okay, now for a battery today, I'm going to be using this Energy Cube. So this is just a USB-C PD or power delivery battery. It works good. It can power a lot of things. It's way oversized for this radio, but I always have it in my bag because it can charge phones. It can charge my 705. It can run my 705. It can keep things going for a few days. So it's kind of like a quote-unquote MCOM thing to me. Is that battery can keep me online for a couple days. Alright, USB-C here, and then I'm going to plug in this USB-C PD cable here. Okay. And so that will deliver 12 volts exactly to it. So that's what USB-C PD does. It has a little circuit in it that says, hey, give me 12 volts. And then the battery says, okay, here's 12 volts. Like that. That's technical lessons with Aaron. Alright, let me plug the antenna in. And y'all, I think that's all we're going to need. Uh-oh. Got some water droplets on it. We can wipe that off. I'm not killing your radio, Jonathan. I promise. At least not intentionally. Alright, scoop my bag back here. Yeah, I think we're ready to go. But before I actually start the activation, I've never touched this radio. So let's turn it on. See if we can figure it out. Alright, so the thing about this particular radio that Jonathan really focused on is making it super easy to use. So I've heard from others that he nailed it and really did make this radio incredibly easy to use, where you don't even need the manual. I think they said there's one thing that's not very obvious, and that's how to clear these CW message memories. Other than that, shouldn't need a manual. So they say. Let's see. Alright, let me zoom in. Alright, and here it is, the CFT1. So let's go ahead and flip this power switch on. And this morning is the first time that I have even turned this on. So the display looks pretty nice. So it gives me voltage. And I'm getting 11.8 volts. Shows the frequency. Okay. Let's change bands. Okay, here it is. This button right here, it says band. Let's push it. Cool. There we go. So when I push the tune knob, the little cursor jumps around to change the frequency. And funny enough, I just did that because that's what I expected it to do, and it did. So hey, good job, Jonathan. Alright, well, we're receiving. I haven't even tuned the antenna yet. Gonna come up around 7.063. Now, like I said, I've not tuned the antenna yet. So, I'm curious. Huh. Alright, I was kind of expecting something to pop up on the screen there. Y'all, I don't know that this radio has a SWR meter. Huh. Okay. Well, it doesn't look like it does. I have to check out and be sure, but I don't see anything popping up. I don't see any options here that would make me think that there is an SWR meter. So let me just scroll through here real quick. There's a message memory, beacon intervals, LCD backlight, calibrate, CW speed. Nope, but ooh, we gotta change that CW pitch. Heck no. Aaron does not use 700 hertz. I'm a 600 hertz guy. Much better. I can't do 700 hertz. Bothers my ears. Okay, so it doesn't have an SWR meter. Well, so I got to get my 705 out because I don't have another meter with me. So I'm going to grab my 705, tune this antenna with that, and then come back to this radio. So I have to say, I find for a radio to be something that I use often in the field, it's got to have an SWR meter built into it. Otherwise, I have to carry one, and I don't like that. So I would say that that's one thing that for me personally is a drawback. If it doesn't have an SWR meter, then It's not going to be something I'm going to carry all the time. All right, let's take a look at tuning this antenna with the 705. I'll be right back with you. All right, so now the antenna is tuned. So next thing I'm going to do here is figure out how to do the memory keyer. Alright, so the antenna is all tuned up. So now let's figure out how to set a CW memory for my CQ. Looks like there's one already. I think to go into it, you hold down. Yep, and it clears it. I had a little cheat. Jonathan actually told me that. I still didn't have to read the manual because Jonathan told me. Okay, C, Q, P, O, T, A, and I keep my message memories for POTA really short and sweet. CQ POTA DE W4 ARB K. That's all there is to it. W4 A R B and then a K. There we go. CQ POTA DEW4 ARB. Alright. So I've just got memory 1 set. I only use one CW memory for doing my activations. The only thing I use it for is CQ, so that's good to go. Alright. I think everything's ready to operate. So let's get on the air and see how this thing performs. Okay, I've got my spot ready to put in. I'm on 7.063, so let's just call QRL a couple times. Make sure nobody comes back and says the frequency's in use, and we'll be on the air. Let me check what the CW key speed is set to. It's at 21. I think I'm gonna bump it up to 22. Feels just a hair slow to me. That feels good. I like the tone of it. The side tone's pretty punchy. So I'm a side tone snob when it comes to radios. That's one of the things that I personally get very picky about. Alright, let's see if I want this to repeat. Yeah, you can make it repeat just from the button. Okay, very cool. So far I'll say that he has really knocked it out of the park when it comes to simplicity. I guess I should also say. I can't quite make you out. I'm sorry about that. Can't hear it. So far, it sounds really good. What I was going to say is they offer this as a kit and also fully assembled. So if you're like me and don't build things, you can buy it fully assembled. But I could certainly see this being a fun radio to build if you are into building kits. I know a lot of folks are. Kind of wish that I was, but it's just not my thing. Man, it seems like 40 meters is doing real nice this morning, conditions-wise. I'm actually liking this radio a lot more than I expected to. I'm going to do a segment at the end where I talk about my thoughts, but I do wish it had an SWR meter. Alright, so 5 in the log so far. probably my most faithful hunter. Very rarely do I have an activation that I don't hear Steve. And audio-wise, filtering-wise, this thing sounds really good. Sounds really good. I can't imagine how much work it takes to design and build a radio, honestly. So I'll say the keyer kind of reminds me of like a KX2. The timing of it's very similar to like an Elecraft keyer, which is a good thing. Elecraft makes a really good keyer. Might be changing bands here in a second. If you notice what it sounds like, there's a lot of QSB kind of setting in here on 40 meters, so might be a good time to roll up to 30 meters. And 8 JMS. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm at 8 right now. I really like to get to 10 before I change bands if I can. CW regulars in the morning. So that's 9. Man, strong signal. You can definitely hear it's either a shortwave station or a sideband station kind of off to the side there. It's pretty common in the mornings. Texas. That is a nice fist. I like that. Well, for making contacts, I'm going to keep going. I typically change bands after it's been a few minutes and not getting any contacts. video. Okie dokie. Let's change bands. Alright. Band button right here. Go loop. Up to 10 meter, or 10 megahertz, 30 meters. Bring my antenna down. Now, I'm going to check the SWR on my 705 again because this doesn't have an SWR meter. Let's see, so far. That is my biggest complaint. Oh, my only major complaint. So I'm going to use my 705 just as an SWR meter real quick. So when I pull this paddle out, it doesn't key. Okie dokie. Come over here to change the 10. It's already perfect. I've gotten pretty familiar with this antenna setup. I think I can tune it by ear for the most part because I know what it should sound like, but always good to check. I'm probably not going to change bands again, so I'm just going to go ahead and put this back up. I'm just going to stay on 30 meters. Flip this back on. Come down to around 10.108. Make sure no one else is in this area. It's 10.111, 10.112, 10.109. I'm just checking the POTA spots. Obviously there's other people on the air, but that's just one source I can check real quick. Okay. Nothing heard. RBN picked me up and respotted me just now, so we're good there. that's weak. Fading out now. Pennsylvania, K2YIY. Let's go for a couple more minutes here. And there's one call there that I'm not sure that I caught at all. Go back and listen to the video. It's advantage of recording. Alright, I'm going to call it right there. So I've got a few minutes to do a little overview of my thoughts on this particular radio here at the end. So let's talk for a second. The CFT1 CW only QRP radio by Jonathan KM4CFT. I would say that performance-wise, I'm rather impressed. I mean, it sounds great. The filtering sounds great. How easy it is to use is fantastic. I mean, you don't need the manual for this thing. There's really nothing to it. It is extremely easy to use. I'm impressed by how much audio output there is. So like this JBL Go 2 speaker that I've got right here, a lot of times for like a mountain topper, I wish it would go louder. But with this thing, I mean, you can see the volume knob was set at like a quarter. It could have gone way louder than that, and that was plenty loud for field use. So I feel like volume-wise, there's a lot of headroom there. I haven't used it with headphones or earbuds, but I'm sure it sounds great that way too. The keyer, man, the keyer is like pristine. I'll say good job to Jonathan on the keyer of this thing. The timing of it's really nice. The side tone sounds really nice. Just in general, the keyer is great. Also having 4 memory keyer buttons right on the front of the radio. So if you're using this in the field and you really are using CW keyer memories a lot, having 4 can be quite handy. Now, I personally only use 1, but hey, I know there's a lot of people that use the CQ. They might use a few others in addition to the CQ that I use. But awesome. So usability wise and performance, I mean, sounds great. I like it. Very good job. Now, the things that I don't like, and there's really not very many, but we'll go over them real quick. So this particular radio is, unplug all this, it is made so like the top part, the face of it, try to kind of get it out of the direct sun there so you can see it a little bit better. The face of it is like a PCB, like a circuit board material, which is great. That's nice and hard. It gives a good sturdy enclosure for it. And then it is boards, so the different circuit boards of the radio are made kind of like a sandwich. And then there's these spacers between them, which are 3D printed, and the knobs are also 3D printed. So that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of the construction of the radio. There are some 3D printed parts. Now, the one thing I would fear is I live in Alabama, and during the summer, I carry a QRP radio with me, or field radio with me, and there are times that I have to leave it in my truck while I go in somewhere. And I would worry about the 3D printed spacers here sitting in a truck that may go well north of 100 degrees. I don't know, 120, 130 inside the truck during the summer in the sun in Alabama. I would kind of worry about that a little bit. Maybe that worry is unfounded. Others may be able to comment on that better than me, but I would worry about that a little bit with the knobs and with the spacers. But the construction of it, it's sturdy. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily worry about it being tough enough for field use. It certainly is built well enough for that. It does have some gaps, like beside the screen here, where you could get some dust or some water drops in it if you're using this in the field a lot. And, things happen. But so do many other radios, including the Mountain Toppers, Elecraft, KX2. So lots of radios have that. Now that's one of the things I love about my ICOM 705. It's like there is pretty much there's no cracks or gaps anywhere. I'm sure that water would not be friendly to the screen or to the jacks on the side when the little rubber covers open to use them. But neither here nor there. That's just is what it is. It's pretty common. Two other things that I wish that this radio had. Rather simple. One is I do wish it had an SWR meter built in. I get why he didn't do that. I know it's a separate circuit, it's more complex. Keeping it simple, straightforward, I can see the merit of that. But for me personally, if it's going to be a radio that I'm going to carry as my primary field radio, it's got to have an SWR meter in it, because I don't want to have to carry anything else. So that's kind of a non-negotiable for me personally. For other folks, may not be. Maybe you really trust your antennas, or maybe you already carry a antenna analyzer or a SWR meter, or one of those little tiny ones. But I would be a little bit worried about those little tiny, I think they're N6ARA makes them, because they are max rated at 5 watts, and I think this puts out over 5 watts on 40 meters, so I would be a little bit concerned about using one of those for it. But anyway, I wouldn't say that impacts the fact that it's a great radio, but it does impact the fact that I would not carry it as my primary field radio, because I gotta have an SWR meter. The other thing that's just kind of minor, I wish it had a built-in clock. I really like being able to write my log, because most of the time I don't use logging applications, so I'm writing down my time. So in my logbook here, I'm writing the time here. And I like when a radio has a clock on it, so that I don't have to look at my phone or my watch to check the time for every contact. It's a nice to have, but many radios don't have that. Again, I don't think that really takes away from how good the radio is. That's just a feature that I would like to have. So if it had an SWR meter and it had a clock, and also if it didn't have 3D printed components, like if these spacers were aluminum, and if the knobs were not 3D printed, probably still plastic, but a plastic that could really deal with heat, man, I'd probably be buying one of these. But just in the end, to summarize, will I be buying one of these radios? Probably not. But let me say it this way: it's not because it's not a good radio. It's an excellent radio, and very great job done by Jonathan designing this thing. I can't imagine how much work and talent goes into being able to build one. Man, I couldn't do that. But for me personally, I have other radios that kind of do similar things, like a mountain toppers. I've got 3 mountain toppers. I actually have the 5-band mountain topper that has the same band stack this does, 40, 30, 20, 17, and 15. It doesn't have an SWR meter in it either. So essentially that radio does the exact same thing this one does. The voltage range is a little bit more restrictive. So like with this one, you can use a full 13.8 volts from like a Life PO4 battery, a BioNO or something like that. But you know, it still does the same thing, and I normally use USB-C PD anyway, so I normally put exactly 12 or 11.8, 11.9 volts anyway. Also, I just use my ICOM 705 all the time because it does everything. It's got a built-in battery, it's got a clock, it's got every single feature that I could want. And no, I don't care that it doesn't have an ATU. I don't really use ATUs very often, and if I do, I don't mind carrying my Elecraft T1. But I don't personally, with the radios that I already have a need for this radio. Now, all that said, if you are in the market for a QRP CW only field radio, man, I don't think you can go wrong with this. If you're the kit building kind, I'm sure you'd have a blast building this. If you're not, you can buy them already assembled. Yes, they are more expensive than like a QMX. I have not used a QMX, but what I can tell you is this thing is very polished. You're not gonna have to worry about it. You can get this, turn it on, use it instantly out of the box without a manual. I did. I mean, today's the first time I've ever used it. Y'all watched it. It was not difficult. So is it a little bit more expensive than some of the other options? Sure, but it's also more polished, smaller manufacturer. I mean, this is Jonathan KM4CFT designed this radio and set up everything for building and shipping them and kitting them and all that stuff. It's just not a big operation like say QRP Labs. So you'd be supporting a individual there, so that's pretty cool. But there you have it. There's my thoughts. Very good radio. Not one that I need to add to my arsenal because I already have other radios that fill this same purpose. But for other folks that don't, or if you just want another one, man, you can't go wrong. It's a good radio. So that's my opinion on the matter. All right. Well, good activation this morning. Band seemed pretty good. Got a decent number of contacts, and always a great way to start the day. So I'm going to sign off right here and head back. So I really appreciate everybody watching. I hope this video has been useful if you're watching it for CW practice, or useful if you're interested in the CFT1, just wanted to learn more about it. I hope that I was able to help with that this morning. And yeah, that's it. 73 from W4ARB here in the beautiful Tuskegee National Forest. I'll see you in the next video.